Okay, I think everyone's in now. So hopefully you can hear me good, nice and clear. With a bit of luck, we'll have no unscheduled maintenance occurring again and no other disruptions. So I need to just check you've got all the right stuff working. I'm going to do this class in voice, and just to my right there's a kind of large presentation screen with the word spiritual emergency on it. Just checking that's all okay. If you do have a technical problem with it and accessing it, I'm going to send you a link, okay? I'm going to start the proceedings shortly. I have a link. I'll just get you now. Yeah, wooden panel. I think if you're seeing the wooden panel, what will happen is you'll. I think. Well, I'll just give you an alternative actually. Which I've just got a live link on Google Slides. It's called, so you can actually see that too. There's the live link. So now everyone is in. I've got Evan also. I can now welcome you all. Welcome to Mystic Academy again, and you are on our regular Friday evening group where we do alternating topics, and some of you are regulars here, and I also often see some new people. If you'd like to join the group, there is a rotating banner behind my head over there, and if you click it, it will make it easy for you to sign up. You'll click it and it will launch a little group inviter which you can use. So our topic today is about spiritual emergency, and a bit about me. First of all, I'm the founder of the academy here, and Venus, who's next to me, and I are running this environment, and one of the kind of reasons for that is so that we can also bring into this environment an opportunity for people to access things, information and knowledge which otherwise they might not get access to out there. Also, the academy has been going since something like 2006, which I'm reminded a 10th year or so anniversary around July time, I think. It's always that mine. One of the two, it's soon anyway. And kind of topics like this are kind of they're quite close to my own personal heart. Having worked, well, not worked with, but just having been through emergencies of my own on numerous occasions since I was in my early 20s. I won't tell you how old I am now, but it's been a few years. So the idea is for this small session today is just to give you kind of a bit of support if you or someone you know is going through this kind of change. And often with spiritual crisis, kind of the way it's defined or what it means, this idea, it's often when we have a kind of a shake-up of our belief systems in such a big way, often brought about by a kind of spiritual experience which might derail things. And when this happens, we can be in quite a vulnerable position because it's very much experiential what's happening here. And the experience of going through this kind of crisis is such a personal thing. It's very hard for people around us, maybe normally, to understand what's happening. And it can make us kind of somewhat isolated as a result. And there is often little help available in the mainstream world. And there are many examples of people going to see their GP, or what we call the GP in England, but a doctor, who then starts the usual routine process. And before you know it, you're being referred to a psychiatric or psychological help, which is fine, but you could quickly become categorized into For example, the things you've seen or experienced may not seem like reality, and the psychological cataloguing describes that as a kind of mild psychosis. Now, those of us who are of spiritual bent of mind will feel much more, I should say, inclined to trying to find a deeper meaning to things. And having that kind of idea or aspiration does greatly help the process. So what I put together was just a kind of a practical presentation. It's not very, very long. I'll try and keep it fairly punchy and move through the different aspects of working with spiritual emergency. And I would like you to feel that you can flow along and you can chat in main, and just flow along and ask questions as they arise. And I usually will be able to keep an eye on things, and Venus here will also nudge me or be able to answer things wherever we can between us. So I think you will find that it's just a opportunity for you to come and talk about, again, yourself or about someone you know. And I'm going to be quite candid about some of the things I've been through. I've got nothing to hide here, and hopefully this will be something of value for you. So welcome all again, and let me now start with the slides. So I'm going to start with, what I'll do is this screen over here. I just sent you the link in main chat. I hope you've seen that. You can click it and open it yourself, and it's a way for you to also download this. I've gone for a very visual format in my slides. I've not gone for very text-heavy based stuff, only because I know that the visual memory is something which is just much more effective than text. And if you can kind of remember some of these pictures when it comes to your own kind of like support, or when it comes to working with this stuff, then the image should come to mind, I think, in a much more easier way. As you know, the subconscious mind itself is very visual, and things that go into the subconscious mind are easy to pull out memory-wise, really, if they're images. And as they always say, also an image is 1,000 words. So I'm hoping to kind of embed in each picture the kind of what I'm trying to express. So let's start with the first slide here. I'm going to just bring that up. I just have this picture of this person who is kind of deeply sleeping and also awake at the same time, and they're kind of contemplating the universe. So this kind of idea of a spiritual emergence is that it is taking us somewhere to a broader view of things and a broader experience. And it's not necessarily the word crisis, okay, is a word that we've seen used. The word emergence can also be used, or the word emergency is used. The word emergence, I think, is more, I think, the most important thing to think about. This is something that is emerging from you, and this is an organic process. This is just like the same way you plant a seed in the ground and you'd see something grow from it over maybe, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long it takes for your whole life actually is like the growth of your spirit. And as time goes on, and as we evolve in this way, our spirit is emerging. So the emergency, right, that happens, the 911 or 999 situation, just happens a bit, does come across us where things can go a bit upside down sometimes. Let's just say the spirit has moved a bit ahead of the mind and wants to show something, like a flash of something. That's a bigger picture, and the mind kind of thinks, oh gosh, I've got to try and work this out, as the mind tends to do. So I've just summarized the kind of ways to sort of work with emergencies as they arise. I can give a few examples of emergencies, but it just says, next slide here will show you just kind of the ways to recover. I'll read these out to you and I'll go over these in some more detail. So ways to recover, I've got here 9 ways to cope with a spiritual emergency. Normalizing, creating a therapeutic container, reducing environmental stimulation, temporarily discontinuing spiritual practices, brackets if appropriate, grounding the patient, so the word patient here, eating a diet of heavy foods. This is often the totally opposite of what the yoga practice tells you to do, so be prepared for a bit of revolutionary ideas. Become involved in simple grounding, calming activities, and also to express yourself. That's to draw, paint, mold, clay, make music, journal, write poetry, and dance. That's your body expressing itself. And in the academy here, we are really much up for some of those things. And me and Venus are both very creative people and like to make stuff. And we've been thinking about having a gallery here for some time, and have some paintings around the place. And we'd like to encourage other people to contribute and share their creations. So I'll start with the first way, the first approach, which is about normalizing. Normalizing normally is a mathematical term. Just pausing for a second, checking you guys are all with me still. Are we all okay? Is it all going well so far? Before I start bursting into my many slides of information. All right, you're all good. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. So let's now begin with normalizing as I shuffle my papers. Okay, so normalizing. I've got two pictures here. Okay, one is like a lattice framework, okay, like a structure, and the other is a kind of like a stepping board through a lake of water, kind of going from end to end. And in a way, you're kind of finding a path with that one. So if you can imagine, right, you've had a spiritual experience of some form, and it's very much out of context with the normal reality, okay? And you try to tell someone about it who, like a normal person, human being. Imagine someone's at work or someone around you that you know, and they just give you this very strange look, right? Like, what is actually wrong with you kind of thing. And you're kind of in the midst of this experience. So what you need the most really is some kind of framework. You to approach someone and that person says to you, you know what, this is actually what you're going through. This is a framework you're within. And this framework allows you to have some understanding, actual intellectual understanding of what's going on, which is essential. Guidance and then support comes from that. There's some examples of teachers who've given, this sort of thing. They've kind of turned up to these spiritual teachers and said to them, I'm going through this crazy stuff. I had a visualization. I saw a tree opening up and all the stuff inside it, all sorts of things like this. And they have this really strong emotions can happen with spiritual emergency. Uncontrollable weeping can arise, and things like that. I've had these things myself. And what these teachers often do is they just sort of give them a context. They say, well, this is spiritual emergency or spiritual crisis. This is energy operating within you. And the most common energy in relationship to this is one called Kundalini. And this word Kundalini means coiled. And I've not made that really evident in my presentation material because I think it's about we all have our cultural context. But Kundalini reactions or energy, when it does this kind of, should we say, not the word explosion, but when it has a kind of like eruption or a kind of an awakening or a release, then it can create a lot of these symptoms. So when you're kind of given the framework, okay, this is kind of like Kundalini energy operating, then this education gives someone a cognitive understanding of what's going on. And with that cognitive understanding and framework comes also a map, a way to find your way around it. So if you kind of know where you're at with the symptom and the issue, then the person who's the guide can say to you, all right, this is where you're at this stage, and I've been here before, and the way to get through it is this, and kind of the person knows the terrain, okay? And the terrain is a bit like being on a mountain. You meet other mountain climbers, and they say to you, kind of, this is the way around this side of the mountain, and they can tell you the pitfalls and so on because they've been there themselves. And as it's such an experiential, emotional, mental, personal experience, that you need someone who understands where you've been. And a person that isn't got the same understanding as you, you're not going to get very far in that conversation. Okay. Another aspect of it is that if that person who approaches you is able to normalize the situation, they also can say, I've been through this myself, and you look at me, I'm alive. I've still got, my senses around me. I've got through it all. And to know someone's actually got through it and had a good positive outcome is another kind of positive thing there too. I can see Cookie saying about how you're evaluating the situation is also in relation to this. Yes, we look at the past and you work it to the future. So to know that this is a framework, it's understood, and that there's a way through it is a great start. So we look to normalize the situation first. Okay. Now our next item, just to remind myself what was on my list actually, the therapeutic container. So I have this picture here of a friendly looking therapist, and someone is smiling on the couch there. I don't know if that's normally what happens when people go to see psychiatrists and things like that, but this is just someone having a chat, therapist really here to working with that person. So the idea of having a container, okay, a container for this practice is really to kind of help you to understand that there is someone who has an empathy for your experience. And this person has to, a really important thing is the person has to have the right manner. Because if they're, say, for example, cold or excessively critical or harsh or insensitive, they can really jar a very delicate, fragile person who's going through this process. So one needs to have kind of, this person is key in being warm, compassionate, having a degree of softness and gentleness to their manner. And I think their own confidence and confidence and calmness gives a kind of energetical reassurance that soothes this person's state. Because that person's state, you don't really want to change their state as such or manipulate the state that they're in. You want to just let them, you want to be with them. And you might have people, I'm not saying this is definitely a therapist, but this might be a really good friend of yours, or someone that you've had that sense who knows how to communicate with you, and knows how to connect with you in that way. And this is essential because if you think about, again, I'll just go back to the analogy of growth. If you want to see a plant grow really, really well, if you give it the kind of care that it needs, attention that it needs, and the kind of right warmth as well, I say that word, and nurturing is the word I'm seeing popping up on the screen here. The nurturing aspect, the care is the thing. So with the care connected to something, when you're working with people, that is the dimension which creates the ability for that person to really come forward, open up, communicate in a way that's open and without any fear. So that's the kind of the container idea. Okay, create a therapeutic container. Okay, another aspect to this is just find the right picture. It's a bit of a funny one here, right? I'll come up later. Okay, stimulation. Now, you can imagine, again, going through this experience, the everyday world suddenly, like I remember going to work when I was, maybe I was like in my 20s again, and actually even at university this was happening. You'd feel very, very emotionally upset and quite tired. And you would really find it hard to be around people normally. So you kind of have this mood that's there, and it just doesn't go away unless you kind of are able to penetrate it and have the sort of understanding of it. So the everyday world becomes a little bit harder to deal with, okay, because you're going through a lot of internal stuff. If someone asks you, how are you? You can't really offer an answer in a kind of normal way. It just comes out as like a load of things, like a blurt of stuff like, you don't even know yourself why you're feeling things. It's just blockages that you feel in your body. So this particular person, or the therapist, or the person working with you, would often look to work out more specifically what kind of people and situations are helping you in the process, and which ones are making it worse, or situations are making it worse, situations and people. And no people intend to make our spiritual emergency worse. They probably haven't got a clue what's going on. They're just being themselves, joking about whatever it is, or just talking in normal banter. But we need to have that understanding ourselves of which situations are actually helping us, which ones aren't. So the idea is to create a bit of a shield really here, okay, around yourself to sort of make sure you've got the right people around you depending on where you're at. Right, okay, so on to the next one. Here we've got I'll try and find a funny picture for stopping. I just couldn't find one very easily, so I came across Jean-Luc Picard doing facepalm, and this is where you have okay, this is it. If you practice things like qigong, and yoga and meditation, and it sometimes can be quite an aggressive practice in a way. And I've seen some forms of yoga can be very aggressive and aerobic. Some forms of Tai Chi can be quite energy raising, and meditation practices, some of them can bring up a lot of stuff. So what's happened is if you like had a massive release of this energy and it's now starting to process, and be kind of worked with, then you need to kind of stop the practice, and only because you can't take on any more right now. So if you keep on going, you're going to have even more to repair and fix, and it becomes in a way unmanageable. So it's an opportunity to stop, see where you're at, work on where you're at the moment, clear the space, and then after that, then you can return back to the practice when you feel things are stable again. Always being mindful of the fact that some practices will raise up more energy because that's what they're designed for. They're designed for this process. People who've had, for example, Reiki attunements, like Reiki level 1, 2, and 3, all release this energy because it's all integrated. That you have to have the development of consciousness in order to sort of transmit the healing energy that moves through you. And any of you who are familiar with Reiki will understand that. So, temporary discontinuing things, for a while is a strategy, we can take. And another part actually is the thing where it depends on your environment. If you're kind of in a spiritual retreat for, say, a week, a nice green countryside environment where you wake up and you meditate a lot and you do yoga and you can process these feelings, then you can keep doing those things. But if you're kind of having to live a day-to-day job and you can barely face going into work in the morning, looking at people, you probably should be stopping that right now until you feel good again. And some of the practices that are probably work the best are actually some things that are just, what I would say is just normal things. Just try and be normal, because if you do normal things such as going for a walk, which I'll talk about in a minute, or basic mindfulness of breath, where it's not about moving energy around, or just simple graceful stretching, that can do a hell of a lot for you in a beneficial way. And then trying these things that raise up you even more energy that can't be managed. Okay, now some of the good things that can help you out are things like grounding. Now grounding, this image here, it's got this guy, kind of his feet are in the earth and he's kind of part of the earth and his roots are spreading out. So kind of going out on the earth and being in earth and on earth is very helpful. So getting grounded physically is extremely beneficial. And there are other ways of doing this approach. You can do things like gardening, or you can go for a walk, or even things like house stuff, stuff at home, filing something, sitting on the floor, sorting out rubbish, it's like mundane things, but these things can really, really ground you, because they just get you connected with your body and your physical being and the earth in some way. Even I think cookery, I would say, comes up as something which is very grounding, can really get you connected to things that have grown from the ground, and touching things that are physical. Those of you who have got animals, pets, and they also can be, but they are kind of affectionate animals, and they also are kind of earth, in a way, and they also can give a grounding concept, that you're connected to something that's from the earth. So grounding is a natural and simple thing that you can help with. Now, those of you who've got access to going out even further for a walk, just put this other slide up here. If I click the button, it should work. It's having a clicking moment. Oh, for some reason my slide's gone a bit funny, but if you can probably see this bottom, the next slide down is actually a tree picture. Oh, it's not coming up on my screen. I think you need to look at slide 9 on my link I've sent you. Oh, it's a bit annoying. Could someone click on that slide for me, please? I don't know why I can't even see it. Wonderful world of SL and its technology, eh? Is there like a next button on this presentation I could click on? Let's have a little look. Nearly there. Kind of missed it. That slide does not like me very much. Come on. Okay. I'm going to go to one off. I'll come to that in a minute. So the one I had before was just simply taking a walk in nature. And going out in nature gives you opportunity to take notice, to be aware what's going on around you, to sort of breathe in the sort of fresh air, listen to birds and animals that are moving around the place. And again, a very great grounding experience. It's just, again, a simple thing to do, but a really great thing. Many times I've had the kind of real deep, hard, dark nights of the soul experiences, had to go for a walk outside just to clear myself out, and you're going to feel emotions and things are going to be released, and you find that it's a great place for just to, in a way, be the right environment around you to make you feel better. Okay, onto the diet now, right? So onto food. So another approach. This is not what the yoga teachers will tell you, by the way, by any means, but eating heavy foods. Eating heavy foods, right? If you are going through spiritual experiences and they're difficult and challenging and bringing up stuff, if you try to not eat, for example, or fast or diet, thinking this is going to cleanse me even faster, you need to be aware of that little adage, right? And that is something like this. I remember this, my teacher telling me this. If you don't feed Kundalini energy, it will eat you, is the kind of like adage, which means that from the inside you'll get eaten up by this energy, and it will quickly dissolve, and take out your kind of vitality as well. So you have to kind of make sure that your body is kept like supplied with energy. Now, heavy foods, although we don't necessarily, if you're having a kind of a big release, heavy foods will slow things down a little bit. And the image I've got there is kind of something quite healthy. It's heavy. It's just got a few eggs and yolk and salmon there, some vegetables, which is a nice mix of stuff. But heavy stuff, which is like, protein driven, even dairy stuff, does help to slow stuff down. And they're kind of dense. Yeah, they're dense with nutrients, natural minerals, and so on. I don't eat red meat myself, but I think people say red meat is something that slows things down. Fish slows things down. Poultry. And things like eggs and dairy stuff also can slow things down too. So this heavy foods can just slow up the process. So then you've got some time just to think and manage it. And if you do the opposite and you have a very light and try fasting, it can again accelerate things for you. So moving on to other things you can do. Going down to the next slide here. This is the last slide actually on my list. This is the kind of expression. This is probably one of the ones me and Venus talk about a lot. And this one is about how you express what's going on in you. This energy in your being is a creative force, okay? And we are, like all of us individuals sitting around this circle, are creators. We are a creation of our own manifestation. And when this creative energy opens up in us and wakes up, it wants to express itself in some way. And some of the most amazing artists and musicians have all had crisis. They've all been through crises. You've seen the most amazing, profound artists that you're aware of, and musicians. You've heard the stories about them. And they all have challenges that they go through. So their kind of way to manage it was to express themselves, to get it out of like Mozart or Van Gogh or famous dancers, famous amazing musicians, rock musicians that have had problems with mental health or things that have gone difficult with them, have been great expressing. So expression in many ways, creative writing, that's through word and poetry. There's the creation of music, both either analog with instruments like guitars and pianos, but also now digital. And those of you who have kind of more modern phones and things can easily access music making things that you can play around with and just to express things out that you can't otherwise communicate verbally. Painting and drawing are great things to do expressively. And also I've got here dance on the screen too. And dance is the great way of physically expressing yourself. It can be very creative and in the moment. So that kind of summarizes the types of things that are kind of helpful for recovery. I would sort of give a bit of a disclaimer here. I'm not obviously a doctor myself, right? So I can't really sort of comment on some things, but I would say that if someone is experiencing kind of strong symptoms, that are psychological, that are really hard to cope with, maybe too much, then they should certainly always look to approach, medical professionals in a kind of spirit of openness, really, and just have that option. Sometimes it's easier for others to actually do that. And again, it's also about your environment and the way where you are and how people are around you. And also, I say, in this virtual environment we are in here, there are lots of people who are out there to help, online and in places like we are here now today, people who are here to help. And when we created the academy, I was thinking all the time about what I'd been through, and having come to a place like this where I could be infinitely creative and infinitely connected to other people. I was able to find a way to manage my own symptoms through very difficult, stormy stuff, and got through it. So I'm hoping wish the same for all of you. You're all on that journey, and we can do more from here. So a bit of informal time and also some relaxation time. I just found a meditation link from one of my early teachers, and this teacher actually operates a place in Second Life called the Kundalini Mystic Isle, and she sort of ran this emailing list. Actually, this is remember the early days of virtual existence. There were things like mailing lists that you subscribe to. And we were on this kind of mailing group, and I was sort of a bit at work reading this kind of messaging, and without no one looking over my shoulder, just trying to find out what's going on, and found that her stuff was really helpful. So I'll share this with you now, and what I'll do is give you the option to chat in main as well. We just have a flowing chat now. We've got a good 15-20 minutes for just flowing chat, and run this meditation in the background. Now, as it's a YouTube link, I think what I need to do is paste it into main chat for you, which would be the easiest thing. You can just click on the link and it will open up for you. And that presentation you see on the wall here, you just can click on the link I sent earlier and you can access it yourself if you want to. Again, there's no text in it, and probably I bet all my images are completely copyrighted. I probably will get sued for it, but there you go. It's worth taking the chance, isn't it? You've got it, and you can do what you want with it now. I must make reference also to where I found some of the resources for what I talked about today. I went online and found a really good website called Spiritual Emergence, and this is what stuff from today's discussion is just sort of effectively just summarized from that, I'll say. So I'll put that link out also in my chat while you guys are meditating on grounding. So you've got those links to go with. I have recorded my presentation, so I will have it available. We have a website, and we will get something popping up in the main chat in a minute as a link to go there. There's also a link for feedback too, which you can click on. So I'm now going to go off voice. Thank you very much for listening, and I can join you now in the normal text chat. I think I probably ought to say this in voice actually, folks, but just got a reminder. Thank you, Venus. I think one thing is really useful to know actually from all of you. You can say it in voice or in main chat, just to know about the kind of your own experiences, and also specifically what has helped you. What has helped you with working through this kind of stuff, and if there's anything you'd like to share, would be very interested to hear that, and I'm sure it would help the others in the circle as well. Presentation. There it is.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, Yes,
Anyone hear me?
yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yeah, I'd share something. I've been through a few things.
Yeah,
Because I used to do in the past when I first did Tai Chi,
yeah.
I ended up getting this premature Kundalini awakening,
Mm,
and it hurt a lot. Every time I would do it, it just felt like I was burning inside.
right.
So I just found stopping it. I had to go cold turkey and not do it at all,
Mm,
unfortunately. So it just kept bringing it up. And I had another time when I fasted for 3 days, and I was going to this event where Amachi was
Amachi, yes, the
doing
one who,
Darsh.
the hugger, the hugging saint.
Yes,
Yeah.
she actually was staying at my teacher's house.
Right. Wow.
So during that time, she did a Devi Bhavan where
Mm.
she embodies the goddess, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
very intense energy.
Mm.
And I got really cooked in that
Wow.
energy until she made
Cooked.
me stay next to her for several minutes, and I
Wow.
just it just kept really cooking and cooking, and that night I was
Jeez.
buzzing like crazy, and it just kept getting more and more and more intense during the course of the evening, and I ended up throwing up, and
Oh
it
wow.
just got worse and worse and worse, and I felt very sick. I didn't sleep all
Hmm.
night, and I just said, okay, last day I got to go back to her and say, take it back. I was so desperate. But I went to my teacher's house where she was staying. She wasn't giving darshan on that day, but
Mm.
I did find somebody who actually grounded me through brushing down my energy fields, and that settled it. It just smoothed it out, and I was just that ended it. So just getting somebody to brush down your fields is a good thing as well, I found, and just grounding it. So
So
those are my stories. Thanks.
so how do you mean by brush down? Did you mean they just like, was it like kind of a astral thing? They just moved their hand around your kind of energy body and sorted it?
Just for the etheric body.
Mm.
Just for the etheric body. That was it. This guy just pulled it all down, and it stopped right there. I was lucky to meet the right person who's there, knew what to do. I just knew where to go intuitively.
Mm.
So I think it would have been a lot worse if I hadn't.
No, thanks for sharing that. That's actually very, very good. So, anyone else would like to say something? Feel welcome to. I'm just getting my links together. Either in chat or in voice as you wish.
The foundation of my spiritual teaching is the grounding exercise. This is an exercise to open yourself to the universal life force and draw it inside of your body to accentuate your own life force. Begin by taking 3 deep breaths. Breathing in relaxation, breathing out tension. You should be sitting up straight with your hands apart, your legs uncrossed, and your feet flat on the floor. Deep breaths. Just relax yourself. Now I want you to imagine that you're on a very warm, sunny beach or somewhere out of doors that feels good to you. And I want you to imagine that it's high noon and the sun is directly overhead. And you can feel the heat from it on the top of your head. It's very warm. Focus for a moment on imagining this until you can actually feel the heat. The effect will be very subtle, but it will be very definite. And as you feel the heat on the top of your head, it will feel like the top of your head has become a flower. The crown chakra is the 1,000-petaled lotus. And as you feel the sunlight, the flower begins to open, ever so gently, to open itself and spread its petals so that it can draw the sunlight down inside of you. And as the flower opens, the sunlight begins to enter you. It goes in your head, goes in your face. You can feel it going down your spine and into your neck. In the center of your torso, there is like a reservoir to hold this energy. Just imagine that you have an oval shape from your collarbones to your pelvis, and the sunlight that's coming down inside of you is starting to fill up this oval shape. You can imagine that the sunlight acts like liquid if you like, but just imagine it filling that center any way you want to imagine it. Visually, feeling it. If you tend to imagine things with sound, then you can imagine the sound of a glass filling. The tone changes as it fills up. The important thing is just that you imagine that your center is filled with light from above you. Now, as your center is filled, I want you to imagine that the bottom of your reservoir has a little leak in it. Not enough so that it's ever going to drain dry, but there's sunlight coming out of the bottom of the reservoir. It's going down through you. It's coming out your tailbone. It's going down your legs. It's going out your feet into the earth. And as it goes into the earth, it's like a laser beam drill. It's drilling down, down, down into the earth. All the way down into the earth. It's going down. It's going down to the very center of the earth, which is a beautiful, fiery crystal. And as the light from above you touches that fiery crystal at the core, it starts off an explosion down there. What you give to the crystal, it gives back better. And now there's more light, and it's coming rushing back up the hole you made to the center of the earth. It's like a volcano. It's like Old Faithful. It's coming back up, 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 up. And you feel it when it comes in your feet. Your feet will start to tingle, like they've been given a really good massage. Pay attention to that tingle. You feel it coming up your legs. You feel it coming up into the center. And when it hits that center explodes into radiance and expands into a circle that is the outer edge of your aura. Approximately a couple of feet above your head, a couple of feet below your feet, all of you is contained in a big egg shape, a big oval of light. Imagine that. The oval is filled with light. And some of the light that's coming back up through you from the earth is shooting out the top of your head, and it's coming down around like one of those fountains that are shaped like an umbrella. And the drops of light and earth light are raining down around the outside of your aura, to create a shield for you, like an eggshell. As the light rains down, it begins to shield you. Now some of the light that's coming back up from the earth goes all the way back up to where it came from, all the way back up to touch the sun. And when the light from the earth touches the sun, it reacts exactly the same as when the sun touched the crystal underground. The love you give to the earth and give to the sun begins to come back down multiplied. So now you can feel almost like a warm rain, more sunlight raining down on top of you, coming into you and filling you. And if you imagine how the energy is moving between the center of the earth and the center of our solar system, which is the sun, and your own aura, it's like you are an egg of light on an eternal thread of light with the energy moving through you both ways. Focus on the energy moving. Get the conception very clear in your mind. You may feel it as a tingly sensation. When you've got it very clear, lock it in so that the energy will continue circulating without your conscious focus. Keep watching this video and practicing until you get very good at doing this.
Hey there, greetings from Jasper National Park, where it's ever so slightly warming up.